Hello, I'm Tom, and I explain from my certain point of view, what is a psychosis. First of all, a psychosis is always trauma that comes up. And if you suppress it with whatever, alcohol, nicotine, medication, then it has to be stronger. Because psychosis, just the emotional trauma, what you had to suppress your whole life for parents, siblings, family, school, whatever. And if you push it down or suppress it, ignore it, then it has to become more aggressive. That was what is, when you're angry and you're suppressing your anger and trying to hold your anger inside you, then it gets stronger and stronger. This is with psychosis the same thing. So then people only have then two options, for them at least: kill or kill yourself. And the third option is going your own way and cutting the ties to everybody. But you have to understand that in this phase of psychosis, there will be all sorts of people will telling you what is the right thing, Yes, and you will be tempted to kill yourself because you don't want to make a decision to cut the ties with people who abuse you. And this is what's happening with people when they got psychosis. And so they get medications and they go more insane until they kill themselves eventually. Or they fit again in this box of society and they medicate themselves their whole life. And the trauma can never solve, and it ends in self-hate and self-destruction. And some people drink their whole life then alcohol or smoke cigarettes or whatever, because trauma ends always in a psychosis, regardless. Some traumas are little and you can resolve it easily, and some traumas are huge and you have to really in some way understand it. And you have to, the thing is that you have to understand it first. Because if the trauma comes up, if you're young, you don't know shit about it, and you believe all sorts of shit what the medication system and the therapists tell you, because in some way they are part of the same problem, At least for me it was like that, If you're alone in the hospital after 2 hours birth, or better said, in another hospital, so your mother can see you and you get your blood samples get taken and you get force-feeded every 2 hours, and babies crying around in the heating bed where you're in, it's too hot, it's like torture, every day and day and day. Yeah. And then their parents come back and you don't want them anymore, like in my case. And you reject them and have resistance against them, and they have to break you so you can fit into the box, The people that don't want you in the first place, you should trust these people. And there's only abuse, like for me in this case, this physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, the whole time, the whole life. Yes, and you cannot fit into a box. You cannot defend yourself. You can't argue because you're arguing with abusers. And they always play it down, Oh, you're just simulating your whatever stuff was forced into me that I'm unconscious because I was so small and little. You take everything in because you believe your parents are the world. And then you're running around with all these beliefs and you're a slave of it. Until the truth comes up, like me with ayahuasca, what I took Yeah, it was dangerous. Of course, it's dangerous to be with abusers too. If someone kept you in the basement and torturing your whole life, that's dangerous too. It's so insane. This is why I'm laughing, because people don't get it, that how abusive relationships are. And if you're in a toxic relationship and all this red tail, what people call it, or the red band, what's or a red line is drawing back to your childhood, and you're suffering now because of 20, 30, 40 years or more of abuse since the childhood, and you couldn't resolve it, and then you're going insane. But in case, for me, with ayahuasca, it was with intention, but not real intention. I wanted to know what this disability was. Yeah, and ayahuasca showed me in a real brutal way. What I experienced was insane. I experienced this stuff what I never had. It was in front of my eyes. It's like you seeing the forest not full of trees. Yeah, there was this shaman woman who had a child with 2 years old, and he breastfeeded him, and this is what I never had. And then there was, on the opposite side, there was this father who didn't care, or this other guy who didn't care about this young boy at all. It was like he was good when the father could have something out of it, out of this relationship, if he could show himself as a good father. Or my mother, in this case, it was always for the outside world. It was always to looking good from the outside world, and inside this was a whole shit show, a theater game, like my father on stage. I mean, in the end, when I'm looking back, there was nothing. Even if my parents separated, and then this 20 years divorce. I mean, yeah, they talked with each other. They were on holidays. We came together in some way sometimes, and then it was, but there was nothing really there. There was no masculinity. There was no femininity. It was, I could not really experience this. I'm sorry. I'm going off topic. But you see, there's all sorts of stuff what is abusive. And what's dependent on this psychosis. Yeah, and it's a lot of shit, And here you have to, if you really want to resolve abuse and trauma, you have to really have a commitment. Otherwise, you don't survive this. Because, your ego is one thing, and your consciousness and unconsciousness knows all the shit. And if you're lying to yourself, well, then you're already in hell. And you will never get to some answers. Maybe some answers will never be revealed. Yeah, especially for me, I don't know what happened in the hospital all the time. And when my parents come back after 1 week, and then I saw them 4 weeks continually in the morning and afternoon to the visiting times. So, I don't know what's happened then, and I can only watch some or look at some photos, and I see this relationship what I had with my mother. When my mother bottled feeded me, and I looked on the ceiling, not in the mother's eyes, on this verbal communication. I can see all this rejection what I had, or this resistance against my mother. But I understand, yeah, she has it not easy too, you know. She was a child who was unwanted too. Yeah, you see, in this case, it's totally insane how it goes from one parent to another parent, from one child to as a parent, and then for this kid for the next generation too. You know, sometimes there are this patterns are not broken, and people or children have to live with this shit. You know. And this plays all into this stuff with trusting, and you know, and you cannot trust really the system, you know, in this case, because the system is abusive too, you know. With all this medication, yes, you can medicate people, but you should then be blind. If you medicate people, then this trauma is coming up again, because you cannot stuff trauma down with medication and then expect that nothing happens again. Okay, it's fine. Now he can go home, and then he got insane too, you know, because this shit come up again, because you have to be together with the abusers. I mean, and the most psychotherapists don't know shit, or maybe they know shit, but they can't say anything. Because it would maybe then it's their fault, you know, and nobody will want to get blamed for such decisions, to blame parents that they are abusers. So it's an endless cycle of a shit show that nobody is honest. And yeah, if you have a psychosis, yeah, you have to be honest to yourself. I mean, that's the only thing what you can do. But the most people don't understand it, that they are in a toxic relationship, because it's going on since they were born, since birth, and they don't know how it was right. For me, it was the same stuff too. The same theme. I thought, how can be a woman who are abused, or people who are abused, to call the police, you know, because they don't know. They got psychologically, emotionally, and physically abused. They don't know anything else, and they bury this trauma deep inside them. And then when it breaks out, everybody, oh, I didn't expect it that he is like that, because he was always a good guy, or a good girl, or a good woman, whatever, a person. Let's say that. Yeah. Yeah, this is this always hidden abuse, and it got told in the society too, because the others always the evil guys, you know. The other nation is evil. The other religion is evil, but we are the good guys. The good. I mean, this is such insane. This is why I'm laughing. It's so disgusting that you have to, in some way, you have to laugh about it, because it's such insane that what people believe, what they got told since childhood, and they hold on to this, some people, until they die, or they're dying for it. This is the next insanity, you know. Yeah, I mean, people have to really wake up, but they will do eventually, you know, because we're living in this world that's for survival. And if you want to survive, yeah, well, then you will find a way. Because nothing what's too weak is, I say too weak, is nothing what's decided to not live anymore or has given up will eventually be there, you know. Okay, we people create a comfort zone, where we have our home, our work, and eating and drinking and watching TV. So we have our comfort zone. So we have to don't do much out of the comfort zone. So we can watch TV or playing computer games or whatever. I mean, this is a comfort zone in some way. The thing is that if it's out of your comfort zone, then you have to face some demons maybe, because there are some hidden beliefs that you're not aware of it anymore, what shuffled into you since childhood, or you should be happy with what you have, or some other beliefs you cannot have all what you want. All sorts of shit, Yeah, I mean, if you can release the stuff, then it's great. But if you're not, this is some way to looking through the insanity of life, or what was created for us. This delusion of how we have to be, how we have to fit in, and in the end, everybody does what he wants. I mean, it's totally insane what people got told. And in the end, everybody plays on his own rules in some way. Because everybody create his own reality. Or the reality, some people recreate the same reality like the parents. And some people go insane, Tragic is then when people have to face their limits and they don't want to quit. I know someone, not really good, but I know someone who had a car accident and he had twitches and stuff, but he couldn't stop racing. And the next time he was dead. I met a lot of people who, another supervisor or boss it was. He drove on a baum too, on a tree, because there was a deer in the way, and he ran into the one tree that was in front of him. Sometimes it's, you can say it's destiny, even if I think that you're making your own destiny. But some things you cannot control, what's coming from the outside world, So being sane means that you're contemplating is it good for you, what's the positives and what's the negatives of the situation. Sometimes we have the opportunity to reflect on it or say, okay, I decided later because I cannot make the decision now. But with emotional trauma like psychosis, then there is no arguing that you have to act, because you're not sane enough to in a psychosis, because you believe everything what you think, and you're acting on it. If you have a safe space, then it's fine, I talked with the refrigerator too, Oh, there was all sorts of insanity. This was then with this Corona stuff and all sorts of, when I lost my work too, I was out of work, and there was all sorts of insanity. When I'm thinking back, it was totally insane. It was like child's play, This is what it was, making the own rules of life. Some insanity is totally like child play. And if you, it's like if you stop a child's play, it wants to force you in this child's play, even if it's totally brutal and destructive, Yeah, because people got stopped when they played and get judged and labeled and blamed and shamed for doing things, whatever it was, what's not was correct in the past. Yeah, and this is all the trauma what's coming up when you're having a psychosis. Understanding that a psychosis is always the death of the ego, and all this trauma comes up, and it has to be resolved. Otherwise, it can be traumatic for other people too, especially for the abusers or other people who are innocent who try to prevent them from acting out this trauma, regardless what trauma it is. And reasoning and arguing with a psychosis, like you talking to a train who's running towards you, Oh, you stop! Arguing and reasoning, that's then the next abuse, and you will be always suffering if you cannot resolve this trauma. Yeah, I mean, the best resolving of this trauma is going your own way, pushing the abusers by side. They want to hold on to you because they are in some way they are in the codependency with you yourself, as a abused person. But eventually they losing you something that what they didn't expect, that you fight against them, and then they're losing the control and the power, and so they cannot feel good anymore because they have to resolve their own abuse. So they have no control over you anymore and have to look inside, or playing some psycho games, or playing your emotions down and provocating, and all sorts of shit. And the most the most people are stuck in emotions, with anger and frustration, and they have to revenge because then they can feel good again. Even the abused victims, this is all this cycle, this spiral, this downward spiral. Instead of you going your own way, you have to revenge because you feel power. You want to have back your power again from the abusers. I mean, in this case, it's the wrong. It's not the wrong thing. It's the counterproductive thing to do this. Why? Because you're stuck again in this loop again with this same people. I had this. Yeah, it's funny because now I can laugh about it. Back then I couldn't laugh about it because I could not overcome this shit. Even now I have sometimes when I'm talking with people, then I have still this that sometimes I cannot articulate myself how I want, because then there's always this thinking mind, and I'm sometimes missing words that what I want to say, to be 100% brutal honest. Yeah, that's sometimes not like that. I guess with this talking and the self-talks what I'm recording now, I guess it becomes a little bit easier. In the end, what I want to make clear is that regardless what you're using to suppress your emotions when you have a trauma, it backfires to you. Because some people will never come out of this medication addiction ever again. Because they trust the people they are in the institutions, and they get medicated their whole life. And so the trauma, it will be always hidden, and you can say it's like a corpse who's rotting in the grave. And eventually you will get sick, and because you cannot hold on to this old trauma forever. Because eventually something will resolve. So you have to feel the pain again, what you're suppressing and what you have to suppress your whole life, maybe. In this case, like me. But I'm talking in some way in the third person too. So sometimes I'm switching from one person, talking with myself and then talking to you. I guess this is the way, maybe, because nobody talked to me like that. It was always forcing me to do things, So now I'm conditioning myself or teaching myself, you can say it like that. Or you can call it re-parenting. I hope it helped to understand what a psychosis is from a perspective of be the, I don't want to say victim, but inside it and getting out of it without medicating myself forever, my whole life. So, bye. Until next time, maybe.